Hello, amigas, and welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast. I have a beautiful soul here with me today. Her name is Sandra Lopez. Oh my goodness, I have the deepest honor of this beautiful powerhouse to be here with us today. She's a trailblazing executive, investor, and cultural change maker with over 20 years of experience leading at the highest levels of tech, from Microsoft to Intel to Adobe. She's the CEO of Ambiventures, a fractional CMO firm and a dynamic force in both B2B and B2C innovation. Sandra is known for launching new ventures inside major corporations and transforming legacy business models. She's a strategic board member, a fierce advocate for women and Latina leadership, and a global voice on inclusive design and next-gen consumer insight. She's been named Most Powerful Latina, Top Woman in Tech, and Game Changer. But above all, Sandra leads with vision, courage, and deep commitment to lifting others as she climbs. Get ready, amiga. This conversation will light up fire in your spirit and show you what's possible when you lead with both head and heart. I love this episode, and I'm sure you're going to love it too. So without further ado, amigas, this is Sandra Lopez. When I was at the tech conference, and I was observing you, and I thought, wow, what an amazing woman. Everything. It was like the whole package. I loved it. And I'm like, she needs to be on Amiga Handle Your Shit because she is handling it. And I love seeing you there. So I'm so grateful you're here with me.
It's so great to meet you, and it's so great to look at your background. And I can't start this conversation without saying thank you for the work that, I don't know if you're still doing it, previously did as a lawyer in terms of immigration policy.
Yeah.
And so right now more than ever, we need to protect our gente.
Oh,
And so it's a tough time. I know.
Girl, and I'm in LA. And
I marched on Saturday.
You did?
Yes.
Yes. In San Francisco?
In San Francisco, yes.
Oh, yes. Oh God, it's been a thing. And then actually, I have an episode coming out next week on LA riots and the protests and the everything LA. And I actually give about maybe like a 10-minute immigration, know your rights, and then also just the history behind immigration and why it is the way it is today. So it's so apropos that we Latinas can show up on this podcast and discuss hard topics and also easy topics, but also just where we've been and how we are now, and then talk about our families, like how they came to this country. And I know that on Latinas in Tech, you shared a bit, and I was like, ooh, I need to have her on the podcast. Sandra, I'm so excited you're here. Welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast.
Oh my God, great to be here. I think most of our life has been about trying to handle our shit. We're doing it on our own.
Yes.
Obviously, I was first generation Mexican American, and so my parents didn't go to college in the United States, so you had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And you had problems thrown at you. I didn't inherit a business network. I had to go create it myself, and there's a lot of handling my own shit.
Yes. And that's the thing about being first gens, right?
Yeah.
You're the first to create everything.
Right.
And I know that from you going to school here.
Yeah.
And trying to navigate that, and then the profession. So I'd like to take you back into where you're from, and I know that you have immigrant parents, but let's dive in deeply, because obviously you're not from LA, so where can amigas find you? If they were over there searching you out, where do they find you?
First of all, they can find me anywhere and everywhere. I think technology, actually working in tech, has done a wonderful job of just connecting everybody. So, in the internet, and I I'm very committed to being accessible to people. Like we talked about it in Latinas in Tech, and I'm so grateful for that organization. When I entered the professional journey, there wasn't a lot of mentors and sponsors.
Yeah.
So if people send me a note on LinkedIn, I'm accessible there. I allocate once a month. It's called I call it the Mentor Day month, where I pick one day out of the month, and if people want to meet with me, I just allocate it to anybody that wants to have a 10-minute, 30-minute session, and it's open to anybody and everybody. And so you can find me there, find me on LinkedIn. And then I used to always laugh. I used to travel a lot, so I used to say, find me on United Airlines. I was traveling the world, traveling all over the United States, and so was so fortunate. So I spent like 85% of the year traveling. So I used to say, United Airlines, I'll be in the lounge, I'll be on the plane. And so
that makes sense, though.
Right?
It really
Right?
does. Yeah.
And I have a 15-year-old daughter who maybe 2 years ago came to me and said, Mom, I don't want you traveling so much. So she needs me as a mom as she enters into high school. So I'm in San Francisco mostly. And so you can find me in San Francisco proper. I grew up in San Mateo, California, not so far. I like to say I grew up in San Mateo. However, I haven't lived in San Mateo or the Bay Area my entire life. I lived in New York. I lived in Milan. I lived in Beijing and Mexico as well. So it's been a fun journey.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, we get to unpack these layers because when I was at the conference and you were saying, I mean, obviously you were in tech, you're a fractional CMO, a GM, board member, investor, all the things.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, God, learning your history, what impressed me was your honesty about Latinidad. And so I want to really talk about that just because, especially right now, what's going on here in LA, I'm sure all over the United States, about immigrants. And so how do you bring your Latinidad into corporate America? How did you do that?
Well, like I shared, I would like to say that the first part of my career, I didn't.
Yeah.
I hid it. And I hid it because people were like, why did you hide? I hid it because when I was growing up, I was fortunate. I grew up in an upper middle class neighborhood, all Caucasian. There was very few people that were first gen anything, whether it's first gen Asian or first gen Mexican and so I felt that I was being treated differently. I equally felt that I was not acknowledged for my intellect because people thought that I was a byproduct of affirmative action. I didn't get into UC Davis because of my own capabilities, but it was because it was a handouts.
Yeah.
And so because of all of that, I was so determined to illustrate that I earned a seat at the table because of my intellect, because of my hustle, because of my grit, because my desire to create my vision for my life a reality. And so that's why I did it. And then it goes back to 2006 with Ernie Felix at Intel. And I always like to say, like, there's sometimes that you're going to be in a conversation. It was that one question or that 1 minute of the conversation that will change your life forever. And when Ernie Felix asked me, like, and the meeting was about, do I want to participate in Intel's executive leadership program for Latinos? So basically there was a community. It was kind of an ERG for the executives that happened to be Latinos. And I told him, like, I've never made my ethnicity an issue. I never participated in any type of program that brought the Latinos together. And he asked the question, like, do you really believe that you being a Latina has not affected where you are today career-wise? I'm like, what are you talking about? And what he was challenging me is to understand that maybe there were moments in my career that either held me back or I was being held back because of my ethnicity. And it was then, over time, it didn't happen overnight. It was a 3-year journey that I said, you know, I am Mexican American. I am a woman. I represent 50% of the population. I represent, well, soon to be, I think in 2030, 30% of the population, which is Latinos.
Yeah.
And so I owe it to society to have a voice.
Right.
And represent mi gente in a manner that shows that, in a manner in which I can help articulate why we matter and why they're important to the business community. And two, I also realized at the moment that I was starting to become vocal around Latinos in business, Latinos in tech,
Yeah.
I also had the accountability to make sure that I over-delivered.
Ooh,
Because
okay.
I was carrying the weight of not only myself saying like, okay, I already have, when you enter a room, I always tell people that are of, you know, minority or a woman, you already are like, you go into the room and you're already lesser than, because
Yeah.
you're a woman and because you're Latina, and so you have to always over-index and be 2x more prepared than your white male counterpart. And so I knew that I was carrying the responsibility of not only myself, but making sure to illustrate that Latinos are just as capable of running businesses. We're just as capable of being influential. And we can, and I think what's really special about us is we can drive the business forward just like our white male counterparts. And we do it with love and with heart and compassion.
Yes.
Yes. And I think we need these type of leaderships. I think we were talking about this in Latinas in Tech. I said, I think this is our moment. Like, you know, we always ask for, you know, Latinos haven't had their George Floyd moment. This immigration is our moment to stand up for our gente,
Yeah.
to illustrate that we're not going to get food on the table if we do not
Right.
allow immigrants in our country.
Yeah.
It's a country of opportunity. In fact, in most cases, this land belonged to us.
Yes.
And so we have to be vocal. And by the way, Jackie, like the choice to be vocal, there is trepidation because you know that you can get blackballed.
Yes. Yes.
And I always have a North Star. My North Star is we are all equals. Be kind. And humanity is what's going to that's going to allow us to have this basically Mother Earth continue to survive.
Yeah.
And so that is my North Star. And so that's how my choice is like, should I speak up or should I not? Should I march or should I not?
Right.
So yes, I'm going to march. Yes, I'm going to speak up about what's happening with immigration, knowing that, and you know, in the tech industry, there's a lot of people that have voted for Trump.
Yeah.
And I know that in the process of me speaking up, it could cause some people to blackball me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
Yes. Yes. Completely. I totally see that too. From myself, it's like, okay, I'm here to speak truth and highlight. Here's the law, and this is the way it should work. And this is an injustice. What is happening? I mean, I don't know if you saw that our Senator Alex Padilla
Yes.
was pretty much accosted. Like it was like, whoa, and it was live, and I'm like, holy moly! I mean, we only got like a 20-second, glimpse of it, but at the same time, it's kind of like it struck a chord. It definitely struck a chord because it's like you're not safe whether you're in a position of power or not because of the color of your skin.
Yep. And what I just saw just recently was, I don't know, the 3-year-old child that was taken away. That is inhumane. That's cruelty.
It's cruelty, and I don't know if you remember back in Trump #1, where
I love how you said Trump #1.
yeah. Well, I mean, you know what I mean, like President #1, like when he was. Wait, how many years ago was that? During that time, where the children were being removed from the parents.
Oh yeah.
they were being removed from the parents. And then then order came back, if you will. And then they had to find out who this kid belonged to because they didn't even know. I mean, can you imagine as a parent, you have a 15-year-old. I have a 13-year-old, and I'm like, that in itself, at least our kids can talk, but when they're that small,
Yeah.
who can talk for them?
You're, yeah, I just, it seems to me like this is a nightmare that's happening, and I see things and it's our reality, and we got to keep on pushing. We got to keep on, we've got to look at history, and the marches help, but we got to continue.
Yeah.
And what we also know helps a lot is our wallets.
Yes.
And so we need to boycott.
Yes.
We need to boycott where it affects our government. We need to boycott the companies that are endorsers just simply by sponsoring that can illustrate, what they're supporting, the policies that they support. So looking at, who supports some of these immigration policies and those companies and choosing to boycott.
Yeah.
Having the hard decision. I'm involved in sports. I saw what's happening with LA Dodgers and Neza, and how she sang the song, which is the song in Spanish, the national anthem, and now she's being told that she can never enter the stadium.
What? Oh, I'm not involved in sports. I tell my husband, I'm like, babe, this is your thing. It's nothing.
But the crazy thing is, like, the Dodgers is in the heart, like, it is.
It's in LA. It's
LA.
Yeah. It's the ravine. It is the heart. It is the heart. Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, and they need Latinos. So if I was Latinos, I'd tell the Latino community, like, boycott them.
Yeah, boycott them. Yeah. Agreed. Wow. I had no idea. Thank you for that. Oh my goodness. So, I think in boycotting these companies, and I know you've worked for huge companies. Mm-hmm. And so I want to, just kind of do a little segue here, because I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the companies you worked for before. You worked for Microsoft, to Intel, to Adobe. I mean, these are big companies. Yeah. How did you get involved? Like, how does that happen? Because obviously you're Latina, and now you're jumping into these white shoe type of firms, if you will.
Right.
So how did that happen?
Well, so it goes back to how I started my profession. It actually started that I wanted to be in the fashion industry. And it came from a perspective of, I always was curious to understand, why do we wear what we wear? My mother also taught me the importance, and I think this is a Latino thing, or the importance of dressing impeccably when you exit the house.
Yeah.
And what I realized very quickly, when I was at UC Davis, I did a bachelor's of fashion, and then I studied business as well. And within a year of graduating, my first year in business and joining a company, I realized in fashion, like, well, if you're not a creative director, you don't have a lot of influence. But I was very curious about, like, society and what happens, like how fashion affects our society. And I did take some engineering courses when I was at UC Davis just for fun. And I said, well, technology is going to change the world. Mm-hmm. And unbeknownst to me, on my own, which is like, I kind of love your podcast because it kind of applies to this, is like, handle my shit. Like, okay, so if I'm no longer going to be in fashion because I knew that I wasn't going to be a creative director, but I valued the business side, like, how do I pivot? And I want to go in the tech industry. So I packaged myself and I landed in the tech industry. And so I worked for startups and mid-sized companies like Excite at Home, companies that no longer exist. But it was in the late 90s, and it was during, like, the dot-com era. I was part of that, and the dot-com bust.
Yeah.
And I just chose the marketing path because for me it was always about really having an exceptional understanding of who your customer is. And that was kind of very similar to the fashion, like an exceptional understanding of who you're selling to from a fashion perspective and what's happening around their life. And so in the tech industry, it was the same thing, like exceptional understanding of the consumer mindset, your customer mindset, and all the choices that they have and what's happening in their business community and also in their personal community to help inform, influence, engage, and build a meaningful relationship between your company and your customer. And so I was always fascinated. And then I was laughing, Jackie, because like back then you only had like 3 or 4 different channels to reach your customer. And now I'm like,
this is the 90s, right? We're like,
yeah, this is the 90s. I'm like, okay, yeah, 3 or 4, and now you have, and it never stops. You have social media, and then it was like, okay, you can reach them through LinkedIn or for B2B, and then now you can actually go to Instagram, and now you have TikTok, now you have Reddit, now you have Substack, and then you have podcasts, and it's just endless ways to connect.
Yeah, right.
And so for me, that's how I joined, and I think I was always in the tech industry because you said you started with it was a very male, and it is a male-dominated industry. But I was always like, just be one of the guys. Just be one of the guys. And that's what I did. I just tried to just be one of the guys, try to golf, hang out at the happy hour. And what I did do, like I didn't go to school for this, but I just observed, because I think it was my fashion background. I observed a lot, and I said to myself, like, I start to tap into my masculine energy. So I was just one of the guys. Yeah. And I was always about, over deliver, always get outstanding on your performance reviews, right? I always want to be that A student. I always wanted to be outstanding. And you know what? The doors always opened up, and I'm very fortunate. Things happened, right place at the right time. I said yes to this one meeting that landed me at like speaking at Davos. And so I always tell people, like, yes, your intellect and your ability to deliver is important. That always is about 30 or 40%. Then I always say, like, your network, 30%. I got my jobs because of my former bosses. Like, that's 30%. And then the other 20% is luck. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Or as I say, divine intervention.
Yeah. Divine intervention. No, you're right. So, or you can be the luck maker, right? So you can kind of have, I like to say, like, have los cajones to reach out and say, hey, I want that meeting. I'm curious, are you open to having a meeting with me? I'd love to have a mentorship with you. And that's really hard to do as Latinos, I think. Sometimes culturally asking for help or asking for that one meeting, like, don't disturb. Like,
no, because in our culture, it's like, cállate. No molestas. No molestes. Yeah. It's like, you gotta be like trepidatious in your ask. Like, be humble in your ask. And versus like, in the white culture, they're like, they have no fucking trepidation whatsoever. They're just, they just do it. They just do it.
Yeah. I have my new filter. I think at this age, I still have trepidation sometimes. I'm like, what will a white guy do? Just do what the white guy does. I do it, but it takes energy from me because it's not a natural instinct of mine. And even over 25 years later, being in the business community, it still is not something that comes easily. It was a muscle that I had to train, and I have to continuously condition it. So,
yes, especially because, so one thing is, like, if you are Latino, it'll be a little bit easier, but it is Latina. And so it's like we were taught to ask for permission before you say something. You were taught to, you can't stay out at night. Too dangerous. You got to be home. Yes. So these are like these limitations that have been already imposed in us. And so for us to break out and just be one of the guys is kind of scary.
Yes.
And it takes a lot of energy to be one of the guys, right? Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And the thing about over delivering, that is embedded in our culture.
Yeah.
We
100%.
over deliver, which is wonderful, but then it also could be very exhausting.
Yeah, we don't, I remember, like, for me, you're absolutely right. Like, with my dad, I never wanted to disappoint him.
Yeah.
And my mother, like, I never wanted to disappoint them. And so the same thing in the business, like, I never want to disappoint my boss, or I never want to disappoint in that one meeting. I mean, this happened, actually, like, this is happening in real time. Like, talking about, you know, galletas la más bonita, or not having the courage to ask. I wanted just to connect with my old CEO of Intel. Like, that was it. I wanted to learn from him. I respect him. I value him. I learned so much from him in terms of his leadership style. It took me months to have the courage to say, like, hey, are you open to having, like, a one-to-one mentorship? And he said, like, he was so gracious. He's like, yes. And so I just met him yesterday, and he gave me, like, all these, like, all these great nuggets of leadership. And I took so much time to, like, I didn't want to over prepare, but I'm like, okay, this gentleman doesn't have to give me any time.
Right.
I got like 40 minutes. It's 40 minutes of his life. So how do I show up and add value? And I had to really think about it. And then I just said to myself, I'm like, just be yourself. Just have a conversation.
Yeah. Right.
And I said, this time, and I go, and this time, don't be like one of the guys.
Oh.
This time, I didn't have it, like, people are like, well, what's your ask? I go, I have no ask. I just want to learn from him. Maybe my ask was just like a one-to-one mentorship.
Right.
And Jackie, like, his nuggets of wisdom was unbelievable. I felt like I got a crash course on leadership from his eyes, and he has worked at some amazing companies.
Oh my God.
So I think...
What a gift. What a gift.
Yeah. What a gift. And I think, like, in the business, we're navigating all this stuff. Like, when is it to be like one of the guys? When should you just listen to your intuition? I know you do a lot of wellness coaching, like,
right.
And my intuition kept on saying, like, Sandra, just be you.
Yeah.
Just be you.
Yeah. I mean, you don't work for him anymore, but you're just seeking out his guidance because you value who he is and what he has done for the company. And that's beautiful, and it's perfect because in that there's also that you're still being Latina, humble. You know what I mean? Qué humilde. Todavía hay humildad, right?
Yes.
You're still showing up. Yeah.
And I think he appreciated it because I don't know. So I think this is where, like, the Latinos have a great opportunity in today's world, because I think our business is evolving, and values like care, kindness, you know, just meeting without, like, necessarily saying, like, I need a specific ask, can you help me, can you open a door, do XYZ for me. I think the world needs more of that type of leadership, and I think this is where we're going to have more opportunities.
Right.
And so I left the meeting and I felt really good about it because it went over. It lasted much longer than anticipated. So.
Oh, that's always a great sign. It's always a great sign. Yes. So I gather you're now out of the corporate arena into your own company. So tell us a little bit about that transition.
Sometimes, like, life forces you into these transitions. So it went back to, just like I said earlier, my daughter, it was 13 at the time, and she wanted me to travel less.
Yeah.
And she wanted me to be home more. And for her entire life, from when she was born to 13, I was always on the road. And so if your child is asking, I will never get time back with her. And so I had to figure out, like, flexibility for me was key. I'm like, okay, I have to be flexible. I know corporate. I've been in corporate for 25 plus years. There's not, flexibility does not exist in corporate.
No.
So then I said to myself, like, what's my superpower? I'm like, I like to build things. I've always been put in a position to build something from scratch and or take an anemic business and transform it. So I'm like, okay, why don't I leverage that superpower to help not one company, but many companies, and I get to choose. I get to choose if I want to take on a project. I get to choose if I want to help that company. I get to choose my hours.
Yeah.
And to me, the reward is like helping these businesses grow and get to the next stage and or transform and or reposition themselves. And so it kind of just landed in my lap, to be honest. Like I wasn't the universe was kind of taking me in this direction, and then opportunities just came to me that were fractional.
Yeah.
And I went with it. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm in it. And honestly, Jackie, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm just doing it. I built businesses. I know how to run a P&L, but I was a never entrepreneur, like 100% for myself. I was always building a business within a larger business.
Right.
And even then, like, I didn't have to deal with HR. I didn't have to deal with all these other, like, finances and what, credit institution or banking institution I was going to go, I needed to support the business. So it landed, and I've learned so much over the past year, and I see where fractional executives is going to be more of a norm.
Yeah.
And so my job is like, I'm helping companies, and I'm also building a category, which is what I love to do. So that's how I ended up. And I was telling somebody yesterday, like, I have the fortunate opportunity of being involved with many different industries, not just tech. I'm helping tech. I'm helping a people business. I'm helping a beauty business. And by doing so and looking at cross industries, you start to see themes, and you have pattern recognition. I was talking to my boss yesterday, the CEO, and he's done very similar. He's gone into different industries. I go, you end up growing exponentially from that.
Yeah. Now I can imagine you're still applying what you already know, but you're building that blueprint and you're transferring over to another company. Right. How exciting to learn different processes from these different companies, because I think it's like, wow, you did beauty, you're doing tech. I mean, it's different, but yet you still have that blueprint with you that you carry throughout.
And the blueprint's very simple. Like, the blueprint's very simple. One is, which is a surprise, like, what's your mission? And when you ask executives in these companies, like, everybody has a different interpretation. So my clarity of mission is very important, because you can't align objectives without a clear, like, mission. And then keep it simple. It's called KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Like, companies that have, I used to work for this company, I won't name them, and they had like 23 objectives. And that to me was like, that doesn't have there's no clear strategy there.
Right.
Like, what are our top 3 objectives? Because imagine going to your team members and saying, we have a finite budget and we have to get all these 23 objectives done, and yet your budget does not support those 23 objectives. And so getting aligned to, I always say, no more than 3.
Yeah.
And having an uncanny understanding of your customer and the ecosystem in which you reside in. And then you build a strategy that is executable. So we call it SMART, like very specific, measurable, actionable,
right.
Real time, and then within a time frame. And you go and you execute and you pivot as you get market feedback. And so it's not that hard, but what I've learned is the discipline is really hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Deciding 3 objectives is really hard. And in the process, you need to inspire your team that they have clarity of the mission, that even the person, I always like to tell when I advise and I consult, or even when I was in large corporate, it's so important that even the person that's cleaning your office after hours has an understanding of your mission. Their role and their role in the mission, like their role, somebody like, let's say the janitors that come and clean our offices, is to create a clean, livable office space so that you can accomplish X. They have a role in the mission. Right. The cooks that are feeding you for lunch have a role. And so I always tell CEOs, like, try to ensure that every team member understands their role to achieve the mission. Yeah. And that's really important.
That is super important. I was the other day, that just made me think of this one. There's this comedian who was asking a mechanic, like, what do you do? And he's like, I'm a mechanic. Like, I fix cars. No. But what do you really do? Like, basically bringing out the mission of what he does. And he's like, and then at the end he was like, I take my clients to their final destination.
Love that.
Right? And I was like, it's always about reframing, right?
Yeah.
Reframing it and getting the people to buy in.
Purpose. To
Yeah.
buy in and have a purpose. Why do you get up every morning?
Yeah.
If you're getting up because you believe that you're doing pitch decks every day, that is a boring
That's
life,
boring. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Right.
So what's your purpose and how does it align to the mission? And oftentimes it's a self-reflection that maybe you realize in that process that you don't believe in the mission and maybe that's not the right company for you.
Right. Yes. You know, I became a lawyer in the year 2000, and I did everything. You name it. I did housing, I did family law, I did immigration, a lot of immigration, all the things. And it got to a point where I was like, I'm so exhausted. I don't have it within me to keep going anymore. And so at that point in time, I really thought, I'm like, okay, so this is something that I get to decide. I can continue on, or I can break it and go into the direction that is more in alignment with me. And that's the thing. I think that many of
How
us.
did you get there? That's a massive pivot. Like that
Yeah.
was like that wasn't starting a new chapter. That's basically closing the book to one
Yeah.
storyline and creating an entirely new book. So that the question is, I'm just curious, like, what got you to that transition?
Well, I would have to say the biggest one was that the body keeps a score, and it tells you when there's no alignment, right? And so I was getting really sick and stressed out and all the things. And it got to that point where I was like, I was hating what I was doing. And I was just snapping and just not loving it anymore. And just getting really granular with myself and being like, okay, is this a me problem or is it a client problem? Is it the profession or is it me? And so as I started digging really a lot into personal development, I realized with all my little human angels telling me, you know what, Jackie, maybe there's something else out there better for you. And now the thought of going into court, I'm like, oh God, no. It just repulses me. I'm like, that Jackie doesn't exist anymore.
And you know what? Well, it's interesting because it's happened to me this past month. It's been very fascinating. People will try to put you in a box. Like you've got to go back to corporate to make a difference.
Yeah.
No, as like your current role, you're not really accountable.
Yeah.
And you're accountable in a different way. And so I think it's the courage. I mean, it's very courageous what you did. And so the courage.
Thank you.
You said people say like, I've heard that saying multiple times, like the body keeps count, but people don't have the courage to change and they keep on getting sick. So like you are a role model for many that listen to your body and I'm sure have conviction and grit to get to the other side, and it can be done.
Yeah. And it speaks to this podcast, like handling your shit, because my shit right there, I was like, okay, my body just doesn't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so as I have a wonderful husband who's been very supportive, and he's like, this is brave. You're being brave, because somebody else would have kept on going. And it didn't matter. So I had to make the courageous choice to say no. And believe me, I got so much pushback. It was crazy. But, I'm like, don't you like me better now that I'm happier? You know what I mean? It's my mom was one of the ones that was like, but I'm like, you know what? I said, I did my time, 20 plus years. I'm okay.
Yeah,
So now,
same thing.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm better here. My family gets more time with me, just like how you have more time with your child, right?
Yeah.
And you just celebrate the quinceañera, and I'm like, oh my God, that is so beautiful.
Yeah, you celebrate the quinceañera, and I think you're reminding me, and I'm watching you smile. So if people can't hear the podcast, if you can see visually, she's smiling, she's glowing, and and yesterday's like conversation with like my old former boss, like he used the word joy.
Yeah.
And I think joy begets joy. Like if you bring joy, like you're smiling, I'm smiling,
Yeah.
and that's how we make the world a better place. So if people start, if you're miserable in your job, really pause and go find what will bring you joy in life.
Yes.
And I recognize that maybe people may be listening to this podcast will say like, well, maybe they had better economic means. Like I'm divorced and I have to support 2 families. I do not have a lot of cushion. Yeah. And you still take the risk. And I think from a wellness, like you believe you have abundance will come.
Yes. Yes. Amen. Amen.
Right.
And I'm a, I God is always in my life and I'm very aligned with that. Yeah. I'm like, surrender it to him and you'll see. Like just allow it, because you'd be so surprised. The people that you thought were going to help you end up not helping you, but the other people that do, you're like, whoa.
I am so, Jackie, you're so right. The people that have not helped me in my transition, I'm shocked. I was like, I'm like, oh, that's okay. But if they ever call me, I will pick up the phone and I will always help.
Right.
And then there's some people that have completely surprised me. I'm like, what? Like, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm forever grateful for them. And so I am where I am because of them. And that's really important. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Amen, sister. So I know we're getting to the tail end of our interview here, but I always ask my guests if they could provide 1 or 2 tips on how an amiga can handle her shit. I would love to hear your tips.
I would say number 1 that I believe has got me to handling my shit is love yourself. Really spend time loving yourself. And whatever that means for you. Yeah. We spend so much time, especially Latinas, la familia, our kids, our work, and we forget about taking care of ourselves and really learning how to love ourselves. And that means at times you may make decisions that come across that you're selfish, but you're not. Yeah. Because you know that you have to do X. Like I knew I had to take a business trip, a vacation on my own, so I can go heal myself. And that took me away from my daughter, and people could have seen that as being very selfish. But that transformed my life, that trip to Tulum. And so, love yourself.
Love yourself.
I think that I would leave that. I don't have number 2. I would just say, go learn how to love yourself.
Go learn how to love yourself. And I mean, you've shared a lot of amazing nuggets here. So I know amigas out there are going to love this episode, and I'm just eternally grateful that you're here. And of course, you're such a fashionista. I love what you're wearing. I'm like, oh my God, that was one of the things that like glued me to you. I was like, because once upon a time I thought I was going to be a fashionista too, but well, life is happening for me, not to me.
I was involved in the fashion industry, and I always tell people everything I do is very intentional. Mm-hmm. So when I go to Latinas in Tech or when I do something, I spend time thinking about not only what I'm going to say, but also what I'm going to wear. Yeah. I think that's the Latina in us.
Yeah. I always tell my girlfriend, I said, you know what? We grew up in the era of like, tienes que estar bien planchadito. Like, you know what I mean? Like everything has to be like fully polished and ironed out.
Yes.
Which is amazing. Like, it's wonderful because not every culture has that mindset.
It doesn't mindset, and I'll leave you guys with this because I'm looking outside. There's construction workers all over this building. I live in a small condo, and there were construction workers fixing some stuff inside the building in my unit specifically. And I knew they spoke Spanish because I can hear them. And I said, thank you for your work, because I know that they're probably afraid every day.
Yeah.
I told them I marched on Saturday, and they these are men, almost all started crying. So, and there you go. How interesting I'm saying that, because I think the construction workers have just arrived.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just saying this is that we gotta support. It's our village. It's our tribe.
That's right.
I'm not being political. You can choose what dissent, but also just humanity, and they need our help.
Yes,
and
they do.
To protect them, and we need to speak up, speak out to drive change.
Yes, exactly. Amen, sister. Thank you so much for being here on Amiga Hand Your Shit podcast.
Muchas gracias.
Yes. I know you have to open the door.
Yeah, I'm gonna open